Today we're diving into a really powerful idea from the ancient Pali texts. It's a distinction that, if you really get it, can completely change how you see your own reality. It all boils down to two concepts, the fabricated and the unfabricated. But let's start with a question for you. Just take a second and think about your life, your job, your relationships, your feelings, your body. Is there anything in that whole picture, anything at all, that's truly permanent, that never ever changes? Well, according to these ancient texts, the answer is a pretty clear no. The idea is that the world we experience every single moment, what feels so solid and real, is actually being put together, constantly constructed, like a movie playing frame by frame. And there's a word for this, Saṅkhata. It means put together, conditioned, or fabricated. Basically, it refers to anything that exists only because other things made it happen. Nothing that's Saṅkhata can exist all on its own. It's always depending on a web of causes and conditions. So let's look at some examples. Think about a moment of pure joy, that wonderful, warm feeling. Well, that's Saṅkhata. It didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? It arose because of certain conditions. Maybe you got good news or saw a beautiful sunset. And because it's fabricated, it can't last forever. And, the same thing is true for the flip side. Those tough moments of sadness or pain, they're also Saṅkhata. They're conditioned, brought on by causes like loss or disappointment. They can feel so overwhelming and permanent when we're in them, but they too are just fabricated states that will eventually change. What about all that time in between the highs and lows? Just the normal, everyday, kind of neutral feeling. Yep. You guessed it, that's also Saṅkhata. It's a constructed state, dependent on not having any strong good or bad things happening at that moment. This whole idea goes way beyond just feelings. Just look at your own body. It's an incredible but constantly changing biological process. It was born, it grows, it ages, and one day it will pass away. The body is probably one of the most obvious examples of something that is Saṅkhata. And this is where it gets really deep. Even the things we think of as us, our thoughts, our ideas, the very lens through which we see the world, all of that is also described as Saṅkhata. Our consciousness isn't a solid thing. It's more like a flickering flame, constantly arising and passing away based on what we see, hear, and think. There's this fantastic quote from the Buddha speaking to his attendant Ananda. He basically says, look, how can something that is born, that's been put together and fabricated, not eventually fall apart? The answer is, that is not possible. It's just the nature of fabricated things. Okay, so if pretty much everything we know and experience is fabricated, impermanent, and a little bit stressful because of that, is that the whole story? I mean, that sounds kind of bleak, doesn't it? Well, the texts say no. There is an alternative. And the alternative is the polar opposite. If Saṅkhata, the fabricated world, is defined by being impermanent, dependent, subject to decay, and stressful, then the unfabricated is simply the end of all that. It's the complete stopping of those conditions. And the word for this is asaṅkhata. See that little A at the beginning? In Pali, that A basically means not. So it literally means not fabricated. It's the unconditioned, the unborn. It's a reality that doesn't need any causes or conditions to exist. Now, this is really important. A Saṅkhata isn't some magical place you go to, like a heaven. It's a state you realize right here. The texts describe it very practically. It's the extinction of craving, the extinction of aversion, and the extinction of delusion. It's the end of the mental process that keeps fabricating our stressful reality. So the million-dollar question is, how do you get there? If we're totally soaked in this fabricated world, how on earth do we even begin to experience the unfabricated? Well, luckily, there's a map. A clear path is laid out. This path even has a name, though it's a bit of a mouthful. The Asaṅkhatagami Mago. All that really means is the path that goes to the unfabricated. It's not about blind faith. It's presented as a very practical, step-by-step training of the mind. So what is this path? It's the famous Noble Eightfold Path. You've got everything from right view and right intention to right mindfulness and right concentration. You can think of these 8 parts as a complete toolkit, a kind of mental technology, designed to shift our whole way of being from getting caught in the fabricated to realizing the unfabricated. Okay, but here comes the twist, and this part just blows my mind. In one of the texts, the question is asked point blank. Is this path itself fabricated or unfabricated? And the answer is crystal clear. The path is fabricated. Just think about that for a second. You use a fabricated, constructed tool, the path, to realize a reality that is unfabricated. It's like building a raft to cross a river. The raft is a tool you put together, but once you get to the other shore, you don't carry the raft on your back. You leave it behind. So why does any of this matter to us? Right here, right now. Why is this distinction between the fabricated and the unfabricated so important? Well, because it's all about learning to see our own experience with total clarity, without any confusion. So let's just quickly recap the main points. First, the big one. Almost everything we experience is Saṅkhata. It's constructed, and it's temporary. Second, there is an alternative, Asankhata, a state that's free from all that stress. Third, the path to get there is, paradoxically, a fabrication itself, a tool we have to use skillfully. And finally, just understanding this difference is the very first step toward real wisdom. Because when it comes down to it, what this understanding gives you is freedom. When you deeply, truly see that all the things you're chasing and clinging to for security are, by their very nature, going to change, your grip just starts to loosen. You can still live in the world and enjoy it, but you're no longer a slave to its constant ups and downs. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. If every feeling, every thought, every perception you've ever had is part of this fabricated world, put together by causes and conditions, then what would it mean to be truly, unconditionally free?